2% of indie films make their money back. Now, I'm going to tell you why.
In this episode of the Khoa Show, we chat with Jeff Deverett, a seasoned indie filmmaker who's successfully gotten 9 feature films produced and distributed, with 3 picked up by Netflix. Jeff shares his insider tips on navigating the film industry from securing funding to achieving distribution, offering invaluable advice for any aspiring filmmaker.
10,000 features get made every year, all right? 50% are unwatchable. They're poorly crafted. They're not entertaining films. When you have those 3 things in place, you have almost a 50% chance of making money. As long as human beings still have the need for entertainment, then there will be a market to make and sell movies. The toughest part of the business right now is selling it. And that's always been tough. The secret is just the biggest challenge, I'm telling you. AI is going to be a huge game changer.
Before we get into it, I want you to please subscribe to us, hit the notification bell, and to give you context, this was recorded about 2 months ago. I didn't release it before, but now we're doing a rebranding, and that we're rebranding to the Khoa Show. And without further ado, let's check out what I did 2 months ago with Jeff Deverett.
So, Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you again. I first and foremost, I call myself a filmmaker because that's my passion. That's what I tend to focus on. So I have produced and or directed and written 9 features. It was 7 up until a few months ago, but this summer I did 1 in May and 1 in June. So we finished shooting them and we're in post now on both of them, and I haven't done distribution, but 7 of my first 7 features were all finished, fully distributed. 3 of them went to Netflix worldwide. So I've had a pretty good career in terms of filmmaking. I also call myself a teacher because I teach in the film department at San Diego State University, where I teach film finance, distribution, marketing, budgeting, and scheduling. So I teach all sort of the business elements of filmmaking. Even though I'm on set, I produce and direct, so I know all that kind of stuff too. And then thirdly, I call myself a consultant because I consult with a lot of indie filmmakers worldwide, and I help them, guide them through various components and challenges related to filmmaking. Most of them struggle, obviously, with financing, getting the money to make their film. Then a lot after their films are made with distribution and marketing, getting the audience, getting their money back. And then, I talk to a lot of people about how to be very cost effective in shooting their films, budgeting them, scheduling properly, and doing that. So that's what I do.
I wanted you to be on this podcast because, your ears are to the ground. You're super active in the industry. And it's, I'm hearing a lot of mixed, I would say, data around this industry right now, like from the commercial side, from the indie side. But so I'd rather just get it from the horse's mouth of what's going on.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me just specify that I focus and specialize in low budget indie filmmaking. I do not dabble in high budget Hollywood stuff. So my sweet spot is going to say is $1.5 million and below, with an emphasis on $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 features. That's what I really focus on. Now, I talk to hundreds and hundreds of filmmakers every year who are making micro budget films for $50,000 to $100,000, $150,000, which you can do. I say to them, I don't do it well because I like to, shoot and have a lot of equipment, pay my people. So my sweet spot for producing is usually around $700,000 to $800,000. I think that's where you can make a really, really good indie film. But the big question is, can you get your money back? That's always the big question. So you're asking me, what's going on out there? And I'm just going to, on my consulting, people say kind of, what's your brand? And I say, my brand is one word, honesty. So I'm just going to tell it to you like it is from my perspective. All right. Remember, this is low budget indie filmmaking. It's not Hollywood. Everybody keeps going, well, I'll get a, $5 million film. I'll get a star. I'll do this. And I say, well, good luck to you. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But that's not my thing. Okay. So on the let's call it less than $1 million films, the toughest part of the business right now is selling it. And that's always been tough. And by the way, I spent most of my career in distribution, not in production. I mean, I've been in the film business, not to give away my age, but for 38 years. And 25 of those were
Wow. So
just in distribution.
you know that landscape really
I
well.
never. Oh yeah. And I still distribute. I'm still very active in that world because, as I tell all my students, if you don't sell what you make, you're not going to make very much because you got to
That's right.
generate revenue. This is a business just like any other business. So where are things being sold? That's the big question. Because if you can figure out how to sell, then financing comes a lot easier. And with financing, making the film is relatively easy.
That's the playground. That's the playground.
Listen, everybody says
that's the fun part.
Everybody says, "Oh, Jeff," I say, to me, the production, like making the film, that's my holiday. That is the playground. And everybody says, "Oh no, Jeff, you don't understand. You don't understand how hard it is, how many hours you work." I said, "What do you mean I don't understand? I've made 9 features. How many have you made? You've made what? 1, maybe none? Of course, I totally understand. But relative to raising the money and getting the film sold, wait till you do that." It's funny. We just finished shooting. This is my 9th feature. I just finished shooting it last week, actually. And so, the last day, you got the martini shot, the last shot, and everybody's happy and a big clap and everything. And then that night, we actually had a really nice wrap party dinner. And I said, for all of you, it's over. And for me, it's literally just beginning. Because the holiday's over. Sure, the fun part, the making the movie. But now first of all, we have to do post-production, obviously. So me and the editors, and we'll work on that. But again, I consider that part of the holiday. When I said it's just beginning, I was talking about distribution. I was talking about figuring out, where I'm going to sell these and how we're going to monetize them and what the revenue model looks like. So you want to know what this business is all about. If you take it seriously as a business and you want to make your money back, you got to understand how that landscape works, the distribution, marketing. And I include marketing as part of distribution, but I always say the word marketing separately. So distribution, the way I define it, is making your film accessible to audiences. And these days, it's usually through a streaming platform or multiple streaming platforms. I mean, that's the main place that indie films go. They don't go into movie theaters. They generally don't go onto television. There's no more DVD, home entertainment. Yep. That's gone. So it's generally streaming. Streaming is where films go. So distribution is how do you get your film on multiple streaming platforms, and which ones? You've got transactional video on demand, the Amazons, iTunes of the world, Apple TVs. You've got subscription video on demand, the Netflix of the world, the Hulus, and then you've got AVOD, which is advertising video on demand, which is the free channels, the Plutos and the Tubies and stuff like that, which is very popular because nobody likes to pay for anything anymore. So how do you get which platform should you put them on? How do you get them onto those platforms, and how much money can you make on those platforms? So that's distribution. Yep. All right. But then I talk about marketing, because marketing is equally as important. Marketing is how do you create audience awareness for your film? So you can, in the distribution side, let's say you put your film onto, say, Tubi and Pluto, the 2 biggest AVOD platforms, right? So everybody's, hip hooray, we got our films on Tubi and Pluto. And I say, yeah, wonderful. Have you been onto Tubi recently? There's 200,000 films on Tubi and Pluto. 200,000. I might be low now. There might even be more between all the TV episodes and everything like that. And over half of those are big budget A-list Hollywood actor movies that are, in second run or third run or something like that. So the question is, you've got your new little indie film on Tubi, but is anybody going to know about it? Is anybody going to find it? You've got a postage-size stamp graphic this big, and they scroll through at lightning speed. And unless they recognize it, how are they going to know to watch it? And if they don't watch it, you don't get any revenue share. So creating audience awareness, i.e. marketing, is a very, very important component of this process. And here's the disconnect, all right? Indie filmmakers don't like to do distribution and marketing because that's the business aspect of filmmaking. It's not the fun, artistic aspect. And I totally get that. I get it. Making a film, that's what you sign up for. That's what's fun. That's what everybody wants to do. That's where you're an artist. Selling the film, you're a business person, it's not that much fun. But guess what? If you don't sell them, you're not going to be able to fund them and make them. So So here's what I tell my students. I say, you just understand the importance of distribution and marketing, understand the landscape. If you're not good at it or you don't have an appetite to do it, then find somebody who will do it, help you with it. All right. And I don't mean just find a distributor. I mean, find somebody who will take the time, who knows how to do some marketing, primarily probably social media these days. It could be a friend, a relative, somebody who can help you out to navigate that world to help create audience awareness, because the distributors these days don't do marketing. They do distribution. They put your programs onto platforms, but they don't create any audience awareness for them. So that is the disconnect. Nobody's doing marketing. Filmmakers never tuck away funds for marketing, and marketing costs money. So just one last thing, and then I'll stop. In contrast, a Hollywood studio makes, say, $100 million film. When they release it, they spend another $100 million in marketing because they understand the importance of creating audience awareness. Like, you can make the greatest film in the world, but if you don't let people know about it, nobody's going to watch it just because they don't know about it. Not because it's not good, it's because they don't know about it. So the Hollywood studios have it right. They spend as much on marketing as they do on production. In contrast, an indie filmmaker, they don't spend anything on marketing. They barely have enough to spend on making their movies. So they scrape together all the money and they just barely get their movies finished, and then there's nothing left for marketing. I think that's a big error. All the movies that I make, I always tuck away a good chunk of money to do marketing, because marketing costs a lot of money and it's essential to do it.
I'm hearing that if you're making a movie more than $100,000, your return on investment is slim to none. If you're making over $100,000, if you're doing it without a A-list actor or whatever it is at the moment. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but that is kind of sound discouraging. If you're making a $500,000 movie, how are you going to make that money back?
Hold on, let's be realistic. You're not getting an A-list actor in a $100,000 film. I mean, unless the A-list actor, wants to do the film, unless it's their idea and you're making it for them. But chances are even they won't do that. Do you know why? An A-list actor does not want to stake their reputation on a film at that budget level. Even if it's our director's super artistic, super talented, there's just not enough production funding to make the film look big enough so that the A-list actor can, showcase their talents. So A-list actor. Everybody talks about that. Oh, go get an A-list actor. You know who talks about that? The distributors tell you to go get an A-list actor. So when a distributor says to me, "Oh, go get an A-list actor," I say, "No problem." Exactly. That's exactly what I say. If you want me to stick in a $500,000 A-list actor, then guarantee me a $500,000 in revenue, because you're the expert, so-called expert. But you know what? They just want it because it's easier for them to sell with an A-list actor, obviously. But they're not going to generate enough revenue to cover the cost of what you spent on the A-list actor. So forget the whole A-list actor thing. Would I love to have an A-list actor? Never. Who wouldn't? Of course I would. It's just there's a cost to it, a gigantic cost. And the question is, are you going to make your money back? And the answer is probably not. You're likely not going to. And the truth is, most A-list actors are not going to take a chance on a micro-budget film. Even at $1 million or $1.5 million, they're skeptical to do it, because they spent all their time and effort, developing their reputation and becoming an A-list actor, and they don't want to blow it on some small, low-budget indie film. And again, not because you're not a good filmmaker, because you don't have the resources to make the film that the way they want to make it. So how does an
indie make the money back?
Okay, well, I'm getting to that. Okay, so you said, how does a $100,000 film make its money back, or how does any film make its money back? So let's just be brutally honest, all right? Most films don't. You know how many films make money in the indie film world, realistically? I mean, I did a study on this a few years ago, and I think it's still accurate. 2%. 2% of indie films make their money back. Now, I'm going to tell you why, all right? I'm going to tell you why. Okay. And by the way, I'm talking features.
Yeah.
All right. Shorts is a whole different world. I'm talking features, and features, I'm talking 70 minutes or more in length, because you don't need a 90-minute feature anymore for streaming. Streaming, they don't have rules about commercial breaks and all this kind of stuff. So feature length film now I consider 70 minutes or more. All right. So that's what we're talking about. So let me tell you why the world is the way it is right now. All right. Number one, it's relatively easy to make a film. So everybody, I mean, you can make a film on your phone camera. I mean, so a lot of people are making extremely, extremely micro budget films. $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000. All right. But that goes into the pool of how many films get made every year. By the way, how many features do you think get made in the United States every year? Features, 70 minutes or more.
I don't know, 10,000 features. Really?
That's about right. 10,000. Okay, 10,000. Well, that's about right. 10,000 features get made every year. All right. And again, that could be low, it could be more. All right, because everybody's making these real micro budget stuff. But if legitimate films, 10,000 get made. All right. Here's the stats. Here's how it works. 5,000 of those are unwatchable. They're terrible. They're poorly crafted. The filmmakers basically experimenting. They're having fun. They're learning how to do it, but they're really just not watchable films. They're bad films. All right. No audience is going to want to watch a bad film. Even if it's for free, they're not going to want to watch a bad film because their time is worth money and they don't want to waste their time. So right away, 50% in the toilet, not just because they're bad films. They're not entertaining films. And, so for the filmmakers who make those, hopefully you learn something, you make a better film the next time. Because you got to think, fair is fair. Like if you want somebody to watch your film, other than, your mother and your cousin or something, you got to make a decent film. Otherwise, nobody wants to waste their time because there's so many other options, okay? 50% down the toilet right there. Now, of the 50% that's remaining, of those, 75%, or let's say 4,000 of those 5,000 films never get distributed. They're actually decent movies. They're decent movies, actually 80% of those. So decent movies that never see the light of day, and that is because the filmmakers, after they finish, are either exhausted or discouraged or whatever. They try to get distribution and they just don't know how to navigate the distribution arena, and they just never get properly distributed. So it's unfortunate because there's 4,000 really good films that more or less sit on people's shelves or get onto one platform or something like that and never really see the time of day. So that's 4,000. Wow. So that's 9,000. So now you're left with 1,000 well-made films that get properly distributed. But of those, half of those never get any marketing. They never get marketed. So now they go onto Tubi, they go onto Pluto, they go onto the big AVOD streaming platforms. And unfortunately, they're really good films, but nobody knows about them because there's no awareness created. And how you're surfing through and you say, I've never heard of that. And you just pass through it, or the graphics not good or whatever the case may be. So now you're down to 500 films. Of the 500, basically, 40% hit the jack, make money, and 60% don't. So it's not so bad. It's 40% of films that are made well that get distributed make money. So that's now you're down to, 200 films out of 10,000. That's what makes the money. All right. So, but when you look at the statistics, when half of them just aren't good enough, and then another 4,000 never get properly distributed, it's not as discouraging. The trick is, one, make a good film that's entertaining. Two, get it properly distributed. And three, get it properly marketed. And when you have those three things in place, you have almost a 50% chance of making money. All right, 40% chance. So that's statistically a lot better than 2%. But that's how the numbers
Has
work.
it always been like this? I mean, this just started happening during the streaming age.
It's because of streaming. All right. So again, not to give away my age, but I got into this business during VHS, tape. And it was a heyday. It was just and then DVD came along, a feeding frenzy. I mean, just everybody was buying everything. All the rentals, the sell-through, everything was fantastic. Every indie film, it had to be really, really bad, the indie film, not to make money back then, or at least break even. So everybody was doing a lot better. Then comes streaming, basically puts, home entertainment, on the back burner, and everybody's hip hooray, we have access to the world market now. We have all these, everybody can access it. Everybody, there's so many opportunities. All these streaming platforms need so much content. And at first, it was pretty good. Netflix wasn't making anything. They were buying a lot of indie stuff because they needed the content. Everybody was exploring. The studios weren't even in the game, when this started. Shame on them. They should have gotten in right at the beginning. But then, jump ahead 6, 7, 8 years, and all of a sudden, and there are 10 years now, Netflix is the biggest studio in the world. It makes the most amount of content, and basically only puts on their own content. It's either Netflix original, or it has to have won an Academy Award or something very big, or some big film festival, or some major, like they have these Korean shows, like Squid Game and Game of Eight and stuff like that. So those are obviously huge audience favorites in their countries of origin. So you need to be something really, really special to get onto Netflix, or they're not going to buy it because they're just doing their own stuff. And that's the case with most of these big streaming platforms. So it's very, very difficult to get on the big SVOD platforms for indie films, just because they already have enough of their own content. And unless it's super, super special, they're not looking for anything. And then getting on the smaller platforms, I mean, half of them don't even stay in business. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next few years. There's going to be tons of consolidation, because there has to be. And I'll get to one thing in a second. But it's very, very tricky to get it onto any platform that has a significant audience, and and people will find your film. So streaming actually has really hurt the indie film business, not in terms of access, but in terms of monetization. And the other thing is, nobody wants to pay for anything anymore. We kind of came full circle to the television model, where it's all about give the stuff for free and watch commercials. But there's so much of it now. It's so diluted that it's hard for an indie filmmaker to make money. So distributors often say, "Oh yeah, we're doing great." Why? Because they have 1,000 films on an AVOD platform. So if they're making $25 a month from 1,000 films, making $25,000 a month, what's each filmmaker making? $50 maybe, $25 if they're lucky.
Oh my God!
All right. So it's a volume game. It's a volume game. But the big game changer is about to happen. I mean, streaming turned the business on its head, upside down. But the thing that's going to spin it around and around and around is AI. AI is I don't even know what AI is going to do, but whatever, it's going to be a huge game changer. I mean, just in terms of production, in terms of in terms of everything. And it's not only the film business, it's the whole world. I mean, I'm a teacher. You got to see what's happening in the educational world with AI. I mean, no student ever has to really write a paper anymore.
Yeah,
or create anything.
Where do you see this going with independent film with an AI? Is it more like for me, I'm thinking that it could be going back towards community building, keeping it small, super niched, and each film is its own platform, and I don't know. I mean,
perhaps. Well, first of all, let's start on the production side with AI. I mean, the tools for making films you're more up to speed than I am on this, because that's kind of what you do. The tools are crazy. I mean, now all of a sudden independent filmmakers can have environments and production value that they could never have before, just by sitting on their keyboards and creating characters and environments and sets. And we're just at the tip of the iceberg here. I mean, who knows what's coming in the next couple of years? I mean, it's going to be crazy what you're able to do without ever walking onto a set. Like, you're going to create people, and they're going to look better than real people, and they can cry on a dime and laugh and do whatever you want them to do, and it's going to be unbelievable in terms of production value. So the good news is that sort of levels the playing field a little bit for smaller filmmakers who don't have the big budgets, and now they can compete and make these big epic Lord of the Rings films and Game of Thrones and all this kind of stuff, because you don't need $100 million anymore. You just need a lot of talent and ability and skills to use these tools. So let's see what happens on production, right?
Yeah.
Distribution, who knows? honestly, it's who knows. Here's what I say. Honestly, I remember I teach these young, starry-eyed 20-year-old students who are graduating and moving on into the world and trying to figure out where their career is going to be. So I say to them, look, number one, just stay abreast of everything. Like, you can't control this, whether it's good or bad, whether you like it or not. You got to be competitive. You got to know what's out there. You got to know the tools. You got to know the platforms. You got to understand what's going on. But here's my theory. As long as human beings are still human and want, they're going to probably have a need to be entertained. No, I mean, literally, like maybe we're getting into the Matrix where we don't even have human thoughts or anything. Who knows what AI is going to do, right? But as long as human beings are still human and still have sensitivities and desires and the need for entertainment, then there will be a market to make and sell movies. All right. Now, I don't see that changing anytime soon, but you never know. You never know. Right. But so it's just how they're going to get it and how you're going to monetize it. So at least there will always be hopefully need for good entertainment because humans desire that. But, you know, listen, like I said, again, I'm making all this stuff up. But, you know, 100 years ago, they were making up watches that you wear and talk to, right? Right. So who knows? Maybe there'll be like chips implanted in people's heads or behind their eyes or something like that.
But yeah, there's going to be tons of these type of movies.
Yeah, and there's never a need to go onto a platform. You just blink or you think of something and it comes up and you never actually physically watch anything. It just goes through your head. I mean, who knows what
I have a question, Jeff. So these buyers, these distributors are doing well. That means they're all buyers for that type of content. But is it all AVOD? Are they selling direct to buyers where they're getting a front out of it? Is it all, what is that? What's going on with that?
Okay, first of all, you're using the term buyers very loosely. Let's look at the different levels, okay? So a distributor is, I don't know if you want to call them a buyer, but they're not really a buyer. They're more of an agent. A distributor will license your movie from you and then try to license it to platforms. And if you're going to call anybody a buyer, it would be the acquisitions people at the platforms. Those would be what we call the buyers. Okay, they're not actually buying anything; they're licensing it, but they're called acquisition people. Often they're called buyers. All right. So in the distribution landscape, that's more, the term buyers is more about those people, the end users who send it to the audiences, whether it be an acquisition person for a streaming platform, for a television station, you know, or network, or even for theatrical, or even, you know, film festivals, right? Those are programmers, right? So those are what you would call the buyers. The distributors are the people who offer it out to those people. So now, could a distributor, let's just talk, by the way, legally first. Do you know I have a law degree also? So I have a law degree. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let me just explain the difference between buying and licensing. And people get this wrong all the time. So there, very, very rarely does anything actually get sold in the entertainment business, unless it's a company. All right. But you don't often sell your movie outright, meaning you hand over the keys to the car and the ownership. All right. What you're doing is you're renting the car to somebody, meaning you're giving them a license, and probably an exclusive license, to air your film and to give it to their audiences in their territory or worldwide or whatever for a certain period of time. And then when that time ends, you get your license, your rights back. All right. So you're just licensing rights to these people, whether it be a streaming platform, a distributor, whatever level. And then when that period ends, you get it back and you can do it again. Most of the deals are done that way. Once in a while, somebody comes along and says, hey, I don't want to license. I just want to buy it outright. I want to own it. I want it to be mine. Now, the only time you would do a deal like that as a filmmaker is if they're writing a big check. And if they're if the number's big, and you know you're selling your child here, right? But if the check's big enough, then sell them and make another child. That's what I say. All right. So if the number is big enough and you feel like you're justified in taking that amount because you made a lot of money and you just want to use it to make the next thing, then yeah, do it. But I don't see a lot of those deals happening. They're otherwise known as negative pickups, where you're basically picking up the ownership of. They used to be called that because they used to buy. In the film days, they would buy the actual
Interesting, yeah.
negative of the film, and once you own that, you own everything. So now it's just an outright sale. It's called a buyout. So, but very rare. It's usually a license deal. All right. So when you say the buyers, I don't like to use that term legally because they're acquiring the rights.
So licensors, we call
does
them
that make sense?
licensors then. Or license, yeah.
Well,
Acquisitions. Gotcha.
Acquisition people. You're the
Licensor, the other one's the
licensor
licensee.
because you're the person who's licensing to them. They're the licensee.
That's right.
They're acquiring the rights. You're selling the rights, or you're positioning the rights. So those people, I mean, they come at different levels. Like a distribution person is basically licensing the rights from you to basically relicense it to streaming platforms in whatever territory they're in. You know, a sales agent sometimes, if they're acting in the capacity of a distributor, they'll license the rights. But sometimes they will just connect you with people and take a commission for that. So there's agents work at different levels. But anyways, understanding how to do a proper distribution/licensing agreement is critical. And the reason that the film industry has such a bad reputation and so many indie filmmakers get screwed is because they just don't know how to navigate that world. They don't understand the terminology. They don't understand how to get a fair deal. They don't know what to ask for. They're intimidated by distributors. And by the way, they're so exhausted. They've just gone through years and years and years of raising the financing, getting the film made, and then they say, enough's enough. I'm going to give it to this distributor. They'll take care of it. No, they won't. They actually won't. You're just handing your hard work and labor over to somebody, and they're either going to sit on it and do nothing, or they're going to give you a shitty deal. And do you want to talk about what the deals should look like, good or bad deals?
Oh boy.
Okay. So there's a couple of major terms in the deals. All right. So in no particular order. So it's basically what rights are you licensing them? And often, I'll just give one example. Okay. Let's say you have a distributor who can handle the whole world. You're going to license them the exclusive rights, meaning it's only going to them, not to anybody else, to handle the whole world, to represent your film in the whole world. Okay, that's first paragraph is the rights. All right, every medium, every platform, TV, streaming, theatrical, whatever. Okay, that's the rights. Second thing is the length of the term. All right. So the period of time that you're going to license it. So these distributors sometimes ask for 15 years, but they're generally asking for 10 years, 7 years. That's insane. It's insane. So I say to filmmakers, no. Unless they're giving you a big minimum guarantee, which I'll talk about in a second. No. You don't give those kind of terms away. Well, that's what they want. So just because they want it doesn't mean you have to give
10
it.
years.
All right. You got to do something that's fair. That's insane. Insane. So I'm going to get to something in a second after I finish that. So that's what the period or term is. Okay. The length of time the license is. Then there's the commission or the fee. So often a distributor will take a percentage of the sales. So they're usually averaging 25 to 30%. That's what they're asking for. Again, negotiable, but that's not outrageous. I mean, that's the norm. And if they're working for you, it's not crazy. Try to get as low a fee as possible. Obviously, if better to pay them 20% than 30%. All right. Then there are costs, how much they're going to spend. And a lot of these people ask for money up front to cover the costs of going to film markets.
So the distributors are asking the filmmakers for money.
Correct. Or they're saying the first, say, $25,000 we're going to use of the first $25,000 of revenue is going to come to cover our costs of attending markets and this kind of thing. It's recoupable in first position. All costs are recoupable, but it depends what position they're recoupable in. But most costs are recoupable in first position. All right? Meaning the first revenue that comes in pays for the cost. So the distributor is really not out of pocket at all. They're not taking much financial risk. I mean, if say they're putting up $25,000 to spend some money to position the film or whatever, they're getting it back in from first revenue. And if the only money that gets made is $25,000, they get paid back their costs. Then in second position, they get paid their fees. Then you start making money. So that's what we call the waterfall.
Right.
All right. And then there's, language, territory. So where are you going to sell it? Do they get the world? Do they get, just one territory? What languages they're going to sell it in? All languages, English, Spanish, French, whatever the case may be. So those are sort of the major components. And then there's all the legal stuff, like, how often they're going to report to you. Well, if they don't report, what's going to happen? Just legal. We call those boilerplate clauses. All right. So that's a standard distribution contract. So let's just go back to the term for a second, the period. Somebody says to you, a distributor says, I want 10 years.
No.
So what do you say to them?
Are you crazy?
And they say, well, then I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Go find somebody else. Then what do you say?
All right. I mean, you
But
can't.
let's say you can't. Let's say you like them and you don't want to find somebody else, or you can't find somebody else.
Then you're stuck.
Then what?
Right. Then
You're not stuck. You're not stuck. I'm going to tell you
Okay.
why you're not stuck. All right. Let's you and I do a little negotiation here. Okay, you're the distributor.
Yep.
You want 10 years. I'm the filmmaker. Say, okay, let me ask you something. You want 10 years. How long is it going to really take you to monetize, like to start getting revenue? Like, how long does it take to release the film and then start generating revenue?
okay.
let me
Yeah.
answer it,
I
okay?
won't know. I'm not a
They're gonna say-
distributor.
Yeah. Okay. So they're going to say it's going to take us, it takes a year
Okay.
just to release the film, and then it takes another year to really get it positioned and everything like that. But you don't want to wait too long because films get stale. All of a sudden, people say, "Hey, this was made 2 years ago." So by the second year, you're generating revenue. The first year is you're going to markets, you're introducing it, and if it's really good, you get lucky, it starts quickly. But it's in the second year you start making the money. The second and third year is when most of the money gets generated. Why? Because the film is the newest. That's when people are excited about it. They want the new content. All right. That's when it's considered a new release. After that, it starts getting pretty stale. So that's the reality of distribution, right? So I say to a distributor, well, if that's the reality of distribution, that really 90% of the sales are going to come within the first 4 years, and probably 75% of those in the first 2.5 to 3 years. Why do you need 10 years? Well, just in case. Now, the truth is, the reason they want 10 years is because the bigger their library
That's
is,
right.
the more
They're
value it
stocking
is,
up.
and
They're
maybe
stocking
they'll
up the
sell.
library.
Exactly. Maybe they'll sell their company,
Yep.
do whatever they want on your bet. They're taking advantage of you. So it's to their benefit, not yours. So I say, if after 4 years you have not made back enough money on this film for me to kind of paid by my film back, my the cost of my film, is there any point? Like, I don't want to wait 10 years. Like, either the film's good or it's not. So here's what I do. I build in what we call performance thresholds. So I say to them, look, you want 10 years and you're not budging? Fine. I will give you 10 years. Okay? But if after the third year you have not delivered to me, like generated back to me, which we call producer share, my share of the revenue, after your costs, after your fees, after everything is deducted, the amount coming back to me, if you haven't delivered back, say, $250,000 in the first 3 years, then I have the option to terminate the deal. And that's because it's not working. Maybe it's because the film's not good enough. Maybe it's because you're not trying hard. Who knows what the reason is? And if the film's not making a lot of money and because it's bad, then I have the option to take it back. Now you might say, "Hey, as the distributor would say, you're crazy to take it back because we're actually doing the best job possible and it's not generating money." And that's why I say, yes, it's an option. It's not for sure. So after 3 years, if I haven't seen 250,000, and I'm making that number up, obviously, right? Whatever the value is that you think. If I haven't seen a decent amount of money back after 3 years, then I have the ability to exercise that option and take it back, and with no questions asked, at my sole discretion. They say, "Well, why would you do that?" And I say, "Because maybe you haven't done anything with the film. And I don't want to, I put my hard work, effort, and money in, and it's going to sit there for 10 years with you sitting there with your thumb up your butt doing nothing. Like, fair is fair. Like, let's do a fair deal here." They say, "Okay, fine." Then I say, then after another 3 years, after year 6, if you haven't added another, couple $100,000 to the kitty, then I have another option to take it back. Then after that, if I don't exercise those two options, keep it for 10 years. This is what we call performance thresholds, where you have the ability to terminate the deal along the way if they're not generating the revenue. Now, I used to do those deals differently. I would say, I'll give you 3 years plus an auto renewal after 3 years if it generates this much, plus another auto renewal after 6 years if it generates this much. But they didn't comprehend that. They liked the idea of having 10 years. So I just reversed it and said, sure, here's 10 years, but I have the option to terminate. And that's because maybe you're going to say to me, your film is terrible and good luck, take it back.
Right.
We don't want it anyways. And I say, okay, no problem. Let's do, and maybe that is the case. So you don't know, or maybe they're just not getting the job done.
So are you doing like marketing while it's being distributed, or when they say I have a deal with you, and then you're gonna run marketing at the same time? Because I look at it as like, you're putting money into the marketing side of things, because they're not gonna.
First of all, I don't use distributors because I am a distributor. I just self-distribute. All right. So I know this exercise because I go through it with a lot of my clients, but I don't deal with distributors because I know how to place all the stuff on platforms myself. So my focus is marketing, right? It's creating audience awareness. Getting on platforms is not the challenge for me. I mean, there are times when I have to go through what we call aggregators because certain platforms don't want to deal with me directly because I don't have enough volume. So in those cases, I'll use an aggregator to put it onto certain platforms. But the secret is marketing is creating audience awareness, which is the biggest challenge. I'm telling you, making the films, as hard as that was, okay, as these long days for months and months, is a walk in the park compared to figuring out how to get audience awareness. So the challenge in this business and any business is creating awareness with your customers. Now, you could open a hamburger stand and you make the best hamburgers in the world. If people don't know about them, then they're not going to eat your hamburgers,
filmmakers raise money from investors or angels or whatever it is and tell them how they're going to make their money back? I mean, how would they even navigate that?
They have to have a smart business plan. They have to say, look, here's how it works. Here's the risks. Here's the realities. Here's what we're doing. And it's going to have to look like a marketing distribution business plan. I mean, I do this for clients all the time. I do their investor pitch packages, and usually I actually pitch to their investors too because they don't talk that language. And a pitch, you know how many a standard investor pitch deck for me is 15 slides, and that's because you're pitching generally to high net worth individuals, people who have a lot of money. They're usually like real estate people or tech people or something like that, or medical people. They're not film people. You're not pitching to film people. So the people with all the money, let's call it real estate, all right? First of all, these people don't want to see more than 15 slides. They're not interested. They don't want a 50 slide deck. They don't want your lookbook and your feel and your themes. And they just, you know how many slides in a 15 slide deck talk about the movie? Two. Hi, my name's Jeff Deverett. I'm making a movie. The movie's called this. Here's the log line. Here's a picture. And here's a 2-sentence synopsis about what it's about. And this is when we're going to shoot it. And here's how much it's going to cost. That's 2 slides, all right? The rest of it is how much money are we going to make? When are we going to make it? How are we going to make it? And how much of that do you get to keep? What's your share of it? All right? Because that's called, and that's an investment. They want to know what the investment is. All right. They want to know what investment. If they were pitching on real estate, they would say, we're buying a property. Here's how much here's how many units. Here's what we're going to rent it for over what period of time. Here's how much money we forecast you making back on your investment. That's what anybody wants to see in an investment. So if you're pitching to people and you're saying it's an investment as opposed to charity, you got to show them what the return on investment is, the ROI, in a very business format. So most of the deck is about distribution, marketing, what your forecasts are in terms of revenue generation, and how much of that they're going to share over what period of time. Now, how do you do that? You got to understand marketing, distribution. You got to understand cash flow. You got to understand how these things actually happen. And then there's one slide just on risk. This is a gigantic risk. Most films don't make money, but here's why ours is going to be different, because we're focused on the things you need to focus on in order to make money. Now, let me just say something, okay? This is a really, really, really
Yeah.
tough business, indie filmmaking. Really tough. All right. This is not for the faint of heart. Most filmmakers are going to be what we call one and done. They're going to kill themselves to get one film made. Then they're going to not get it distributed. They're going to throw their arms up in the air. They're going to say, what the heck was I thinking? I got to live my dream of making a film, but this is bullshit, this industry. I mean, this is nuts. The distributors are giving you bad deals. They're not even reporting to you. The platforms, who knows if they're reporting? Like, the audience doesn't want to pay for it. I mean, this is nuts. This industry is nuts. So why do people do it? They do it because they have a dream. I mean, that's why I did it. You have a dream of being a filmmaker. It's sexy. It's fun. You're going to share a story or message with the world. It's a sexy, sexy business, but it's not a good business.
Yeah.
If you want to make money, this would not be what I would recommend you going into, but you do it because you have a huge passion for it. You love it.
I had a producer friend. I can't name his name. I don't want to expose him like that, but there was a investor of $4 million that was on the plate, and he put $250,000 just to analyze the market, what's going on, how he's going to do it. And he looked at the reference of Coda that Apple bought for $25 million or something like that, right? And so he hired the same attorneys and everything else to go to market with, and it's like $100,000 to the attorney. I was like, and you think you're gonna sell this thing for what, $8-10 million?
No, but he's not even comparing apples to apples there. He's comparing apples to oranges. He's comparing a $25 million film. Now, I don't know what Coda was made for, but it was a studio pickup and everything like that. You got to compare like things. You can't look at the 10 last Hollywood hits and say, oh, my $2 million indie feature is going to be the same. It's bad analysis.
That's right.
It's a waste of your money. You got to be realistic.
Reason why I think the investor also pulled out of it, because he didn't have a solid answer or how he's going to make that money back.
Because he went looking in the wrong places. I mean, he went looking in the Hollywood circle. This is what everybody does. Everybody, when they want to get into film industry, pretend they're like some Hollywood mogul throwing around big numbers. And they go looking in all the wrong places, and you're not going to get any answers. You got to look in the right places. All right? If you're going to open again, I'm going to just use an analogy. You're going to open like a one-off small clothing store. You can't go look at, the statistics of Nordstrom's and Bloomingdale's. You got to look at one-off stores and compare apples to apples. Because they have different marketing plans and different platforms and different sizes and scales, economies of scale. So if this is what people do, they look at the Hollywood model, the studios, the big films. Like everybody, when they're making an indie film, says, "I'm going to make the Blair Witch Project," and I'm going to make a film for $50,000. It's going to make $100 million at the box office. That's what we call the Hollywood dream. That's what keeps driving people to do this, right? One, because they love doing it, but two, that happens. But you know what else happens? People buy a lottery ticket and win the lottery. You know how many? That's one out of, I don't know, 100, 500 million people that happens to. But it happens. If nobody won the lottery, they wouldn't sell tickets. So every once in a while, you get a winner. You get a big winner, and everybody compares themselves to that. So I say, that can happen. That's what we call the Hollywood dream, and maybe it'll happen. Hopefully it will. But don't make a business plan built on that.
That's crazy.
You can't make your business plan about winning the lottery. That's a bad plan. So you make your business plan based on realities, the truth of where you're actually going to. So this guy you're talking about, he just went looking in all the wrong places. He asked the wrong level of people. He did a Hollywood analysis on a basic indie film. Had he done an indie analysis, he could have seen where the revenue was actually generated for real and what level to make the film at.
So what do you suggest to the filmmaker? I mean, they're they got some money. They're gonna raise their money. Are we saying that don't make your film because you're not gonna make your money, or don't expect to make your money back and making sure this is what it is? I mean, what are we advising over here?
Here's what I'm advising. If you're really, really driven and you need to do this, then number one, you got to give it a shot. You know why? Because the worst thing you can do is not go after
Yeah.
your dream. Like, I am a big believer in pursuing a dream. Now, a very likelihood that the dream's not going to come to fruition. Look, any athlete, any young athlete who wants to, the Olympics are coming up. How many young athletes want to go to the Olympics? You got to try, right? If you don't try, then you'll regret it the rest of your life that you didn't give it your best shot. It's the same in the film industry, okay? If you have a passion and you have a dream to make a movie, then just give it your best shot and try. What I'm advising is how to give it your best shot. That's what I advise. I don't say don't try. I say 100% you got to try. Because the worst thing you can do in your life is not try and regret it the rest of your life.
100% agree.
Now you're in your 40s and you have this huge midlife crisis because you said, if only I would have tried. Like, why didn't I try? So you got to try. Now, by the way, often in your early 20s, when you're really keen and game to try, you have the least amount of resources and expertise and ability and skills. So it's almost hard to give it your best shot. Sometimes you wait till you're in your 40s when you got some money behind you, you've got some business experience, you've got some savvy. Then you have a better chance at actually trying. So just because you tried in your 20s and you failed doesn't mean you can't try again in your 30s and your 40s.
That's good
advice. You
can
keep trying.
That's great advice.
I highly, highly suggest you do that. A dream, if it's true, never dies. A dream should never die. The question is, how do you give it your best shot? So this is what I'm advising. I'm saying to give it your best shot, if you just want to be the filmmaker, you just want to be the artist, like the writer, director, actor, whatever you want to be on the artistic side, appreciate that there is so much more to the business side, and surround yourself with people who know what they're doing. Now, they don't have to be film people. As a matter of fact, it's better if they're not. All right. You don't have to go and find yourself a so-called film producer like me. All right. Go find yourself. Like, if you're a university, this is what I say to my students in the film school there. Okay. They're in film school. I say, guys, here's my advice. You walk over to the business school across campus there, and you go hook yourself up with a marketing major and a finance major, and you guys become a team. And you guys all share this vision together. Let the finance people do what they do well. Let the marketing people do what they do well. You're the artistic filmmaker. You make a great film. Be a team. Give yourself a chance, and don't kill yourself with the stuff that you don't like to do and aren't good at doing. Affiliate yourself with people who are good at doing it. All right. And again, they don't have to be film people. It's better if they're not. They just have to share that dream with you. They have to have good work ethic, be persistent. And that's how you give yourself the best shot. All right. Like, if you are a filmmaker and you don't like marketing, you're going to hate the film business. All right. Because you think you have to do it. But you hook yourself up with a marketing major who loves doing marketing, who is all gung-ho about social media campaigns and everything like that. Now you're a great team. You get to everybody gets to focus on what they enjoy doing. They're passionate about it. You're a great team. That's my advice.
I know you have your company, Indie Film Community. I want you to talk a little bit about that. And I want to know, is this how you're sustaining the films that you make? You're making your 9th feature film, and I'm sure you're going to be on your 10th, 11th, 12th in the next whatever years that you have, Is that, you built yourself a platform to sustain yourself creating film. Is that what you're doing at the moment?
No, it's sort of. Let me explain it. So I have 2 companies, all right? My production/distribution company is called Deverett Media Group. Deverett Media, all right? So I make my films under the Deverett Media banner. I distribute them under Deverett Media. That's my company for my products, my films. All right. Within that, I have Deverett Film Production, little entities, but Deverett Media Group. So, and that's where I do a lot of my consulting, is Deverett Media Group. So if you want to find me, you go on to, if you Google Jeff Deverett, it's going to take you to Deverett Media Group, and that is my film company. All right. But a few years ago, especially after I started teaching, I realized, I've realized it for years and years, like a decade now, that it's just so darn hard for indie films to get proper distribution. And it's a shame, because a lot of the films are really good. And I have a big soft side and passion for filmmaking, because I do it myself now. I know how hard it is. I know how passionate people get. So, and I have the kind of the savvy and the experience to understand how to navigate both worlds, the production side. And by the way, when I went into production, do you know what all my distribution associates and friends said to me? They said, "Did you like fall and bump
you
your head?
crazy?
Like, did you lose your mind? Are you out of your mind? Like you're doing so well in distribution. You own your own company. You know the distribution landscape so well. Like, why would you ever do something crazy like go and start making films?" And I said, "Because I love filmmaking. I went into distribution with the hope
That's
of
so
becoming
funny.
a filmmaker."
It's so
Like,
funny to hear distributors who taste people content and saying that it's crazy to create the content.
because they're not
Yeah.
filmmakers. These people, they're business people. They don't even like films. They don't even watch them, let alone make them. What, you think I'm joking? I am not joking. It's the truth. Most of them don't even watch the films. They'll take your film, they'll license it, they'll watch 5 minutes at the beginning, 5 minutes in the middle, 5 minutes at the end to see that it's
Good artwork,
actually
good
a
title,
film.
good log line, good whatever it is. That's good.
That's it. That's it. They don't care about your film. They don't. They're it's like they don't have the passion. They're not passionate filmmakers. I am a filmmaker. Like I said, first and foremost, I introduce myself as a filmmaker. I love filmmaking. Everything about it. And so distribution is in some ways the necessary evil to be successful in the film business. But distributors, when they talk about, oh, I made a film, maybe they put up a few dollars, like less than 10% of the value of the film, maybe, and they put their name on it. They took an executive producer credit. That's to them making a film. When I make a film, like I've written, produced, directed, I'm on set every day, I'm making it, like I'm making the film. But them, because they're distribution people, they're business people, they're not filmmakers. Okay, you understand that. There's a big disconnect. All right. So anyways, so Deverett Media is my film company. That is, but then I said, filmmakers are getting screwed. Like indie filmmakers are just getting totally screwed. All the deals, all the distribution deals are bad deals. That's because they don't know how to negotiate a good deal. So that's when I started consulting and saying, hey, do this. Let me help you with this. Let me help you with that. Okay, just because I get sick and tired of seeing all these really good artistic people getting screwed because they just don't know how to navigate that world. All right. And then it grew into something bigger. Then it started to say, hey, like the platforms, the streaming platforms are locking out indie films.
That's what I heard
They're
about
basically
that, yeah.
saying, we don't need your content anymore. Like, yeah, you made a great film, but we made 10 other great films and we own them and we don't own yours. And there's no or they're given like $5,000 for a licensing deal, $10,000. I mean, it's a joke. It's so stupid. So what's the future? Where are these indie films going to play? So finally I said, hey, what if I could create a community of indie filmmakers, people who are passionate about making their films? Not a lot of them haven't even made a film and may never make a film, but they're passionate about the whole industry, about dreaming about it. A lot of them are attempting shorts, stuff like this. And I say, let's put all these people together into their own little community and let them support each other, because the outside world is not going to support them. They're never going to get the time of day at an SVOD platform. They're not going to even be able to knock on the door. All right, the distributor's going to screw them. So I say, what's the alternative? What can we do different? Let's think out of the box a little bit. And I say, basically, let's do in the indie film world what AAA, American Automobile Association, did for car owners. Let's put them all together. Let's create a group, a little community, so that everybody can benefit. And we'll have our own streaming. We'll have our own. So if you go on the indie film community platform, that's what that's about. All right. I provide tons and tons of educational videos, and there's 2 levels of membership. You can join for free and have access to all of that, so you can kind of learn. Or you can join for $500 a year. It sounds like a lot of money. And then you get access to all sort of the premium stuff. For instance, like if you're making a film and you want legal documents. So there's about, 25 or 30 legal document templates that you need to make your film properly. Now you go and hire a lawyer. They're going to charge you $5,000 right off the top, and you're not even to know if it's real or not. Like, I say to filmmakers, I'm a lawyer to start with, and I've made 9 films. I have all the documents. I'll just change the names. Here's the location agreements. Here's the actor agreements. Here's the equipment agreements. Here's all the here's everything you need. Here's the rights for the ownership of the script. All this kind of stuff, because most of it is you don't need to repeat the wheel over and over again. Okay, here's insurance. Here's how insurance works. You need insurance, but you're going to get screwed because you're going to do it one time and you're not going to know how to do it. Let's do it together. If 50 people are doing the film and they all need insurance, we can work together and get a way better deal. Payroll. I mean, all these elements that are involved in filmmaking and primarily distribution, all right? Marketing. Everybody's going to need a social media campaign, but you're all going to start afresh. You're all going to try to figure out how to use influencers. You're all going to do the same thing, and you're all going to think that you have to do it by yourself. Why not do it collectively as a group? You can do it way more cost effectively with people who have done it way more times than you have and actually know what they're doing, and give yourself a fighting chance. That's what the indie film community is. It's a collective. Now, it's going to take several years to build and advertise, so we're just getting started. But that's what that is. It's the community of filmmakers from around the world who just want to work together. And then on the distribution side, you'll support each other. You'll actually watch each other's films, and you'll pay to watch each other's films. And if you don't want to pay, then no problem. You don't have to. You're just not part of that level of the community. But at some point, if somebody wants to go make a film and be part of something, okay, here's what I say. Go do what everybody else does. Go knock on every door. Go listen to the distributors. Go listen to the shitty deals that they're offering. Go get screwed. And when you're ready, come to the indie film community where I've already been down this road hundreds of times with clients and myself. I know exactly what is in store for you. And by the way, I offer consulting. I say, here's what's going to happen, but you need to go see it for yourself. So go see it. I'll send you on your way. Here you go. Here's 5 distributors. Go see them. These are the best ones that I've vetted, let alone the 100 that are terrible ones, right? Go knock on the door and try to negotiate the deal. Then you will understand what I'm talking about. Then that's why, and you'll have a place to come when all else fails. And are we going to get, 100 million subscribers like Netflix has? No. We might have 100,000, but that's all we need. We need a good 100,000 dedicated filmmakers, and they'll constantly be coming in and going out, who really care about being in the film industry and want to be part of a community.
Man.
That's what this is.
I love what you're doing. I mean, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of...
It's a ton of work. You know what? But the truth is, at my age right now, and the way I feel about filmmaking and my understanding, it's time for me to give back. I've done really well in the film industry. I have a good life. I've gotten to live my goals and dreams. I teach a lot of young people, and I love the idea of being able to put it all together and give back and say to up and coming aspiring filmmakers, here's another alternative. Here's a different way, which you can't do on your own. You got to do it collectively with a group of people, because it's too hard to reinvent the wheel every single time. And that's what you guys are doing. It's crazy to make an indie film by yourself. But I mean, just like I said, just the little things, legals, payroll, insurance, those 3 things screw everybody up. And they're relatively easy. Those things are relatively easy. I mean, if you could do it as a package and just do it all collectively, everybody could save a ton of money. You pay for your membership 500 times over.
I mean, you're definitely on the right track when it comes to the community, because we saw that in the crypto market with communities, and that was a lot of scammers in that community. But we saw that it was a bunch of communities being formulated, creating their own, and they created a lot of success, a lot of launches. Except that you're not in the crypto community. You're in a community that you're trying to create, which is great. So I think that. I feel like, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I feel like you're kind of creating its own internal ecosystem for people to support one another while we're trying to get through certain errors and periods or wherever it is happening.
Correct. So people say, so how do you make money? Do I make money at that? The answer is yes, of course I make money. I make money by selling my services to people. So you might say, hey, I have a film and I need an investor pitch package. And I don't want to have to recreate it from scratch because I've never done one before.
Yeah.
Can you do it for me? I say, yes, I can do it for you. I can do it at a fraction of the price that some entertainment lawyer is going to do it because they've actually never done one and they're going to charge you a fortune. But I'm not going to do it for free.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to take a template and it's going to take me, I don't know, 5-6 hours to just customize it to your film, but I don't have to build it from scratch. And it's a real, in deck that I've used, 100 times before. And this is what you need to do. So that is the ecosystem, as you call it, being able to, and listen, there's people who are way better at things than I am. For instance, I am not great at social media. I don't love social media. I'm not that good at it. I understand it, but I'm not good at it. But I have dozens and dozens of filmmakers in the community who are really good at it. So I say to them, so I'll just connect you, sell your services. Do you understand how influencers work? Do you understand how to connect people? Do you understand how to create awareness? Great. So you position yourself and sell your services to these people, but sell it at a fair price. Just everybody's got to be fair with one another and give real good value and provide real stuff. And like these lawyers that are out there, I mean, I'm one of them, and they're just not providing value. It's not fair to the clients. These documents are so easy to come by. They're not for free, but it's a joke what people charge, and filmmakers don't understand it, so they just say,
what are
"Oh,
your
that's
thoughts
what I
about the
got to spend."
ChatGPT
You don't.
lawyers, script, contracts now? I mean, people just, I want a contract, and it's kind of wields it. I mean, is it dangerous to go do a AI platform to get contracts?
A little bit. I mean, it's not dangerous. You're going to get a decent document, but everybody is wondering, okay, did I miss anything? Is it real? Do I still have to have a set of eyes on it? Right now, everybody's in that in-between phase. Yes, I have to. In a year or two, everybody will say, no, this is better than any lawyer could write. Because it's comprehensive. It's got everything, got years and years of history and documentation. So that's what I'm saying. AI will change all that. It'll make it much more cost effective to
My
do
last
everything.
thing here, before we wrap it up, Jeff. So, is Hollywood, like the mainstream? Are they making money? Are they successful at what they're doing? Because with all these streaming platforms going down, I mean, like if they are not making the money, how are independent making gonna make any money out of it too?
So the truthful answer is I don't know. I mean, the only indicator that I would have would be the same one you would have, is what is their stock price? And we all know that that's not necessarily an indication of performance, just an indication of stock price. So I don't know if they're making money or not. They're pretty savvy, these studios. You got to understand, these people are in business. They're run by investment bankers who understand business. These aren't artists. Everybody thinks, they're filmmakers. They're not filmmakers. They're business people. They're running big public companies. They have artists in their, of course they make artistic stuff, but their main business is distribution, is selling stuff, is providing entertainment to people. So I'm going to say, just because I know some of them, that they're savvy enough to get through this and figure things out. They will have to change their business models, and they are presently. They're always growing and changing because they're public companies, and they need to. They need to be, beholden to their shareholders. So they will figure things out. Will the industry change a little bit? Of course it will. It always has. They felt, when it went from theatrical to television, everybody said, oh, it's over. It wasn't. They just changed. Then television to home entertainment, they changed. To streaming, they changed. There's always changes coming. You just have to stay abreast of the changes and on top of them, and hopefully you're smart enough to navigate through them. My big question is, how much appetite do people still have to pay for things? But then I look at this. Then I look at the music business, and I say, wow. The music business, look at what happened in the music business. Everybody started saying, I'm not paying for songs. And then what did they do? The band started touring again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, the industry's up.
And
The music industry's up.
they're paying a fortune. People are paying a fortune. Now, is that sustainable? I mean, at some point, you're too old to tour. But people love going to live concerts. And all of a sudden, the music business is back up. So you just got to be innovative, stay abreast, on top of things. And the studios will do that. They will figure out how to do that. They're smart. It'll look different, I'm sure. But like I said, as long as people want to be entertained, they'll figure out how to provide that entertainment. And I'm not sure what that will look like going forward. And the truth is, in this business, everybody lies anyways. They all tell you something that they, like $100 million movie. Is that actually $100 million? Maybe some of them are, but most of them are $50 million to make it and $50 million to the executive producers who steal the rest of it, or tuck it away in their pockets somehow, some way. So who knows what's real and what isn't? I've always said that, but it doesn't matter, because that's just part of the marketing plan. Like, who cares? As long as they're getting, their stock prices are up and they're generating profit somehow, some way, and the whole thing's not going to come crashing down. They'll navigate. They'll figure out
I
how
have
to
a
do
question
it.
for you.
So I'm not too worried about them.
Just came up. So if you just made your movie, and then all these distributors or licensees, they want to be the first ones to put it to the market, wherever it is, and they're not providing really minimum guarantees, or they're doing low licenses, wherever that is. I mean, if the filmmakers were to, let's just say, early do behind the scenes marketing, put some scenes out there, where it is, does it hurt their value, or does it help them do that? Because filmmakers got to do something to promote their stuff as well,
Yeah.
with organic social media and
So
all that type of stuff.
yeah. So what you were describing is basically doing kind of pre-marketing before you release your film, creating awareness and hopefully pent-up demand.
Yeah, I
so
got
that
a lot of
people want to see the
filmmakers that would
film.
ask me. So I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know if it's going to hurt your value, because some people might want to keep it hidden. I don't know.
The only reason it might hurt your value is that people say, "Oh my God, look at that! That's such a piece of crap. I'm never gonna. When it comes out, I'm not gonna want to see it." So that could hurt your value, right?
That's funny.
But if the materials you're releasing actually excite people, then of course it can't hurt your value. I just don't know if you can do it with an independent film on a large enough scale to make it worthwhile, unless it's super, super niche. Which, by the way, I recommend to filmmakers to do super niche films. So, for instance, do a film that speaks to a very, very, very niche audience. Like, I'll use an example, okay? Like a crypto audience, all right? You know crypto. So, not everybody knows crypto, but the crypto people know crypto. Yeah. So, how many are there in the world? 500,000 people who really understand crypto, let's say. What if you did a super niche film that really speaks to them? Hopefully they're going to want to see it. All right. Because now them you can get to. They travel in the same circles in terms of their websites they go to, in terms of the social media platforms they deal with. That's where you can do what you're talking about, is create awareness and hopefully a little bit of excitement ahead of time, but only in a world where people are really, really focused on what you're doing. You can't say, "Oh, I'm going to make a generic action thriller film, and that's going to be for 18 to 35-year-old males." It's too hard to get their attention. You're competing with too many things to get their attention. But you go to a crypto, community, and there's no films about crypto, maybe one or two a year, and you're really, really touching us, there's strings that they understand with a trailer or some scenes or whatever you're doing, then hopefully you can create awareness with them so that they're interested to see your film. And that's all it takes. You don't need 10 million people. You need 100,000.
That's right.
So that's the key. The key is super, super niche and super niche marketing to the people who might really care about it. And the distributors are not going to do that. It's too much time and effort
Jeff,
to do that.
I could talk to you all day. I know there's a lot to cover. I'll probably need to get you back onto the show. But
sure.
Do you?
Well, as you can see, I like to talk about all this stuff.
I love talking to
very
passionate people
passionate
about
it.
the film business. I think you're super wonderful when it comes to giving that information out, and then your consultation service is super affordable. So filmmakers need to definitely connect with you, and definitely will need to. I'm going to be joining your community right after this call as well. So making sure that we're part of this whole team over here that you're trying to formulate, and being very supportive of it. So I love that about everything that you're doing. So Are there any other plugs that the people should know about you? And we're gonna have all the description
Yeah,
links and
sure. Well,
everything for
first,
you, but
yeah, I just want to say, everybody says, well, if you're such a nice guy and you're so honest and care about filmmakers so much, like, why do you charge people? Say, do you know how many filmmakers contact me every week?
well, it's a lot of time.
Like well over
I've run
100 every.
multiple businesses. I understand that there's no time. There's no
There's
time.
no time. You run out. You just
Yep.
run out of time, and like everybody else, I need to make a
Yep.
living also. So, I think I provide very good value. I'm super honest with people. I'm straight up, and when I say I don't think this is going to work for you, but you should try maybe this,
Yep.
this, consider it. Who am I to tell them? I'm not God, but I do have a lot of experience that they don't have, and I can help them avoid a lot of what we call rookie errors, just doing the same thing somebody else did before, just kind of not knowing what's coming at
And
you.
what,
On the other side.
another plug I have
So
for you, Jeff, is that I said for all filmmakers that are trying to be part of a community, you want to be early in the community. Don't join late in the community where you kind of get buried into it. Early, it's like kind of like I look at it as like you're a senior in a community that
fair, yeah, fair
you
enough.
know.
But you know what? I'm also not going to play that game, create urgency or anything like that. If people want to get a lot of information, be part of it, I'm not in a rush. You know what? I'm not in a rush at all. If it never happens, fine. I gave it a. You remember I said you
Yep.
got to pursue a dream. So my dream is trying now to try to be able to help indie filmmakers navigate this business and maybe even change it a little bit. All right, make it think out of the box a
Love
little
it.
bit. If it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, I gave it a shot. I gave it my best shot, and I can say, hey, I tried my best. It didn't work, but whatever. So listen, people will find it like they find everything else. I think it's quality. I'm still tweaking it a little bit. I take things for granted. I mean, because I've had successes in certain areas, so I just take for granted that you can do this, this, and this. Plus, I'm also super entrepreneurial. I'm a real kind of persistent guy. Not everybody's like that. So I'm starting to understand that a little bit more. And especially from my students, I'm pulling back and saying, okay, you don't like to do this. You don't want to do this. Fine. Work with these people who do. Try it a little differently. I mean, this is what needs to get done, but maybe it's not for everybody. So I'm starting to get better at positioning sort of solutions for everybody that are accessible and that people can kind of a pill that they can
I feel
swallow.
I feel this industry
'Cause
is like
used-
it's like going through becoming a lawyer or becoming a doctor. You need like a decade in order to get there. A lot of filmmakers are, or at least the young ones are super impatient. They want to come in, they want to go right off the gun and make it happen too. And, rightfully so, but, they never build any relationships. They don't try to build those type of relationships, and it sometimes becomes this me thing, and for me, running businesses doesn't work that way, and there's no cavalry coming, and I also look at it as that there's no you gotta kind of you do have to think that you gotta build that value for yourself, like you said. So
Yeah, fair enough. Fair, but first of all, if you're young and talented and persistent and got good work ethic, you got a good shot. You're gonna have a good shot. You don't have to wait 10 years. But here's what I say to my students: I say, listen, like they're taking a course called the business aspects of filmmaking, right? Where I teach all the stuff that we're talking about. All right, I say to them, you guys are 21 years old, and I know that you're not going to listen to a word I say, because all you care about is directing and acting and sound and lighting. That's all you care about. So I get the fact that, because I've been teaching long enough, you're not going to listen to a word I say. But in 5 years from now, you're going to call me up and you're going to say, remember you told us about marketing and distribution, all that kind of stuff. Can we have another chit chat? I'm going to say, yeah, but you didn't have to waste 5 years. You just have to listen. But everybody's time comes. You can't rush it. Everybody has to do it on their own time frame. Listen, I sat down. I was on set. I actually hired 8 of my students to work. I mean, 8 former students who had graduated, right, to work on my last films, because they're good kids and they work hard, and they just, why not give them an opportunity, right? So I sat them down at lunch one day for them, and I said, guys, I could really fast track your careers. You just need to listen to me. I am going to give you at this lunch some advice that I wish somebody would have given me 40 years ago. Had somebody sat me down at a lunch like this and said, you should do this, this, and this, and I would have listened to them, I could have cut
Yeah, that's
15
right.
years off of my career and been 10 times further ahead. All right. Now, I know I'm going to tell it to you exactly what will fast track your careers, because you guys are good, you're smart, you're capable, and you could do this. But I kind of know you're not going to listen to me. Why? Because you need to do it on your own time. You need to get, you're not going to listen to the gray haired old guy telling you what he knows. You got to experience it yourself. All right. And I know that's the case. Now, I said it, but I needed to say that to them, maybe for myself. I just needed to know that I said, because I wish somebody would have said it to me. I wish somebody just would have opened my eyes and said, here's what's really going on there. But everybody kind of has to go through the motions themselves, unfortunately. And people do it at different speeds and rates, and some people never do it. And some people are just happy not to do it. But these are four students who are super ambitious, who are going to make a career out of filmmaking. I just want to accelerate it for them a little bit.
Well, it's I mean, I think again, what you are doing is, it's not like a lot of people are doing. So, so thank you so much.
Because it's super difficult. And it's, by the way, it's not rocket science. It's just a matter of trying to put people together to help each other.
Right.
That's it. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll give it my best shot, and hopefully it'll go. And if it doesn't, like I say, I'll be able to go to my grave with a smile saying at least I tried.
Jeff Deverett, everybody, make sure you check out his website, indiefilmcommunity.com, right? Or deverettmedia.com. And you can just Google Jeff Deverett. He's all over the place. So Jeff, thank you so much for your time.
It was a pleasure chatting with you as always. And yes, I would be happy to chat more, because it's endless what we're talking. Oh, by the way, last thing, I'm in the midst of writing a book. So I'm putting this all into a book. I mean, I need it for teaching. It's kind of a textbook of all my lessons.
Amazing.
But I'm going to write a book, and the problem is the book's going to go out of date on the distribution side because it changes every year.
Are you self-publishing it, or? Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am. Listen, if a publisher steps up and says, hey, we like that. I am in the world of academia, and it's going to be a book that I use in my courses and offer to other teachers to use in their courses too. But that world is also crazy, that whole publishing world. And so if a publisher says, let's do it, great. And if they say, no, don't want to do it, no problem.
We are trying to build the biggest independent filmmaking channel there is on YouTube. Last video got us over 500, 600 subscribers. So thank you for that. And now we're looking to continue to keep going with that momentum and keep going with that growth. So for us to bring on new people and new education material that's going to help you guys out as filmmakers, as content creators, and as this industry evolves, make sure that you subscribe to us and engage with us, and let's build this community together.